Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're going to allow just a couple of more minutes for some others to join us, and then we'll get started. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the TSC monthly webinar series. Our topic today will be contract management. Brandon Shade with Highland will be our presenter. Brandon's been with Highland for 6 years in both the support and pre-sales roles. He's originally from Ohio, but now resides in sunny Florida. We also have Jack Pompey with TSC. He'll be fielding the questions that come through the chat, so feel free to ask those questions. If you aren't currently receiving emails on our monthly webinar, please let us know in the chat and we'll get you added. Also, stay tuned at the end of our presentation for our upcoming webinar topics. Thanks to everyone for attending, and we look forward to a great and informative webinar. Brandon, if you'd like to go ahead and get started.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie. Again, just my name, Brandon Shade, looking forward to leading this webinar for everyone. Going to be walking us through really that contract management lifecycle solution that is offered through the OnBase platform. I'm going to first kind of walk us through a nice PowerPoint deck that's really just going to give us a nice overview of the solution itself. And then we'll kind of, obviously dive into the fun stuff, which would be that live software. As mentioned, if there's questions, that do come up, please feel free to enter those in the chat and we can address those at the appropriate time, whether that's during the call or if you feel you want to wait till the end, we can definitely take those as well. So really, the goal of our contract management solution with OnBase it's really to take control of that contract lifecycle management process, again, all within OnBase. So with OnBase, you can make those effective recommendations, better handle any type of contract requests and any type of those related activities. This solution really provides you to access all that contract related data and documents all in that one central place. OnBase is really able to manage the complete life cycle of that contract by automating those predictable steps while still empowering your staff to complete that knowledgeable driven work. And then really once that complete view of all those information tasks, activities, and correspondence does increase, each employee is able to increase their productivity by eliminating the need to really jump around between multiple applications. So we'll see all that in action through this deck, and then again we'll jump into that live demonstration. Just to give you a quick agenda on the slide deck here, we'll walk through really what it would look like to maybe initiate a contract request. We'll take a look at reviewing that workstation, as I like to call it, once that request has been submitted. We'll go ahead and look at what it would look like to draft up a contract and perform maybe those redlinings. And then we'll wrap it up on the PowerPoint side with the reporting and analysis before moving into that live demo. So just to kind of create a quick scenario, in this situation, just think of like a organization that needs to craft up a contract to establish maybe a vendor agreement. There's obviously specific things that are going to need to be tracked, whether that's negotiable or non-negotiable. But really the goal is to obviously have that contract request submitted, whether that's internally or externally within an organization, and then really start that process of getting everything completed, between the review, the negotiation, and the approval to get that agreement signed and in fact activated. So from here, what you're seeing is just simply an electronic form. This is really just one way we can accommodate a contract request or just kick that process off. Through our, if anyone's familiar with that's on the call with OnBase, this is just simply a Unity form. Again, for anyone that's not familiar with OnBase, it's just, it's Unity forms are just point and click configurable forms. And we can really provide, those external users this type of form to initiate that contract request, which is really going to, gather all those different data elements that we need to get that request going. By serving up this form, it's really going to take away time from organizations, specifically those internal users, to have to fill out the appropriate information. If we can, provide this type of document to those external users to fill out themselves. Through our electronic forms, we can expose those appropriate data fields for the users to complete, and even have some of those fields auto-populate, which you'll see in the demonstration later, for that input data to be automatically populated. And then additionally, we can expose those additional fields based off of that information that was provided. So this is just a different look. Again, we're still talking about an electronic form here, but think of this form now being exposed to your internal users. So maybe a contract request came in via phone, via snail mail, via electronic mail, and we really didn't have it all organized in one place, but you're having that internal user go ahead and fill out what would be really, almost that same form we were just looking at a moment ago. But in this time, a user has logged into OnBase and is able to actually see these forms, from their system. Now, I just want to quickly point out, these are just two ways you can have contract requests, initiated. That does not mean they are the only two ways. You can, have different links provided, within your website for users to hit, or, et cetera. The list really goes on and on as to how you can initiate those. But really, the point is, as long as you're getting all that necessary information, it's just a matter of, mapping it to the solution that we offer to really kick off that process. And then really once that contract request is submitted, it really kind of leads us into the view that you're seeing right here. Once a contract request again has been submitted, I can pop open that request as a whole. And then as I like to call it, I have this nice workstation to, work the request, get that nice 360-degree view. For anyone that's familiar with OnBase, what you're seeing is just a work view application. Now, I try to be careful on my OnBase lingo just because, again, I don't know, all who is on the call and if we have potential non-OnBase users, but just think of WorkView as just an application that's going to provide you the ability to see, all those different data points that would be related to that specific request. And in this instance, we just have that nice application that's built related to that contract management request. And if you can see now, I have a little bit more highlighted, specifically same view, but we're able to store all that contract data and track it all in one place. So whether it's that contract type, the start date of the contract, who's the administrator that's working the contract, we are able to store that requester information. That way, if I'm working this request as that user and I need to reference that appropriate information, I'm not having to click between multiple screens and to try to find this stuff. It's all going to be right there for me. If I maybe need to reach out to Cindy Smith, I can certainly do so by locating her contact information right within the application. And then additionally, just to kind of talk about the workspace a little bit more, we have these different containers. Now, we have a tasks container, which is going to really contain all those relevant tasks. So, you're seeing things like review, the milestone has been complete, contract draft has been uploaded. So, that's just really going to continue to provide the ability to see all that information that needs to be completed, or all those duties that need to be done before we continue to move this along in the process. We also have that nice notes container. So if there's any type of relevant information that you want to make sure everyone who's working this request can see, you can have those notes performed on a manual basis, just by hitting that plus button there and making that appropriate note. We have that nice documents container, which it's really just going to contain all those relevant documents that are related to this specific contract request. And then we have an emails container. So if there's any type of maybe emails that are going on in the background that we want to make sure are tied to this request, so people can reference or see, we can certainly store that information right there as well. And then really moving into the next phase, and again, you'll see me work the request in full in the demonstration, so don't fear. But we also do have the ability as part of the solution to offer up and really create those templates, or excuse me, create those agreements right within the process. So based off of some functionality inside of OnBase, I can hit a nice ad hoc task and then generate that agreement that will need to be pushed out to that necessary party that initially requested this. And then really from there, once I have that document created, it then in turn gets stored right within that documents container. That way, if I need to reference it again as a user that's maybe working this request or reviewing it at any time, I can see that most up-to-date agreement that we have for this specific vendor that we are working with. Again, this container, though, I just want to call out, it really just acts as a place to relate or reference documents in request. All those documents are stored only once inside of OnBase. So, just because we're storing them there doesn't mean we're storing them multiple times in OnBase. So don't fear that you're having multiple things stored of the same item or same document stored twice. It's simply just a place of reference for those users. And then really, that documents container not only provides a way to show what documents are related to the request, but we can provide the users the ability to see that document directly. And again, this just provides the ability to see everything and anything related to that specific request all in one screen, again, rather than having to search through the entire OnBase system or even having to do, separate repositories for that. And then really once, we have the appropriate contract put together based off of that initial request, it's on an organization to, get that redlining and that negotiation to take place. And, we can help store the multiple versions of the document, including, again, that numerous amounts of back and forth redlining between both parties. And really, no matter how many times the contract goes through that redlining process, utilizing Microsoft Word functionality, we can directly compare any edited contracts to, those original contracts as you're seeing on my screen here. Again, that redlining that is Microsoft Word functionality. I just want to make sure everyone knows. So we have that ability to, provide that real-time redlining, and what you're seeing in the upper right-hand corner is really a different version of the contract, where we have maybe the updated version in the lower right, and then to the left is really all the quote edits that have been made on said document. And to wrap up my PowerPoint, I just got some slides to talk about reporting and analysis before we dive into the fun stuff. So really from a dashboard view, is what you're seeing here, we really can provide that ability to see and track everything and anything that's going on in these contract requests. And I think that's really important because, it just provides that nice 30,000-foot view of where everything sits. So, if maybe as a manager we need to jump in and, kind of shift some stuff around, based on someone being out of office, we can certainly do that by, just jumping into that appropriate request, right from here. To kind of look specifically on the left-hand side of my screen and just to kind of get a little bit more specific on this dashboard that I'm showing you, this dashboard showing all those contracts and really what status they're in this instance. So we have the top pie chart, which is again all those contracts, and then the lower one of what that status is. And then to the right-hand side, it's really going to show where all those contracts are sitting with that specific administrator. It doesn't look like Brian Hobbs has really got a full workload going on. Maybe he's out on some vacation right now, but we can certainly know as that manager that we're getting that 30,000-foot view, that once Brian does go back, we can shift some of that laid off, Francis and Cindy back over to Brian. So I'm going to pause right there before I jump into the PowerPoint to see if there's any type, or into the live software to see if there's any type of questions.
So thank you, Brandon. A lot of really great information. It does look like we did have a number of questions come through.
Awesome.
First off, Brandon, has a lot of other customers implemented this solution? And if so, are they still using it today?
Yes, we do have a lot of different customers that are using this solution today. To be honest, I don't know the number of those customers, but it is something that, the contract management solution, the contract management process is really relevant in any organization, whether that's, healthcare, an accounts payable, team, or an industry team. So it's really a relevant solution for any organization, and we do see a lot of customers leveraging it historically and still today.
Great, thank you, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Another question that came in was, what happens if our OnBase admin isn't using OnBase daily? Are there any type of notifications or emails that could be sent once a contract is assigned?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely. We really kind of recommend if a admin is not living and breathing inside of OnBase, that we could set up some notifications for them, and that's totally something that OnBase can handle. We would recommend that you just kind of find that comfort zone as to where and when those administrators want to receive those requests come in. Historically, we probably see a lot of customers set up notifications to come out like once a day. So, maybe that's at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. That way the administrator sees maybe I've got 5 new requests that need to be, 5 new contract requests that just came in and I need to work them. I'll schedule them for tomorrow or vice versa. Of course, other customers have those contract requests come in right as they're getting submitted. But it's really just up to the organization as to how often you want to see those come through.
Great. And then, Brendan, what happens if the admin is just out of the office on vacation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. So it kind of works a little bit in turn, like I was explaining a brief moment ago there. And what we could do is by leveraging this nice dashboard view, that maybe manager could come in and reassign it to someone else. We also do have the ability to set up load balancers in the background of OnBase. So you have different rules that can be pushed over to a different administrator, maybe when they're out of office. So we definitely do have that ability to set those up as well.
Great. Thank you, Brandon.
Absolutely.
And then lastly, what licenses are required for this, or licenses or modules are required for this?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It's really, to be honest, it's going to depend upon the licensing model that your organization is leveraging today. As I know, we have our simplified model, out there that's the relatively new licensing structure. Really for that, it's really going to be more so of your premier. If you're needing access to really that workspace screen that I was showing, you would need to be a premier user. If you are just a user that's going about and really just submitting a contract request, you would just need to be an essential user of OnBase, and you don't even need that premier level access. For those legacy customers that are still on the legacy model, I would just recommend getting in touch with your account team, and we can kind of see what modules you're leveraging today, and we can kind of work from there. But I hope that answers the question. I know there's possibly some follow-up there, but I think that's just the best way to address that one.
Perfect. Thanks, Brandon.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna close out of my PowerPoint. I'm gonna hope you guys see my Unity clients in the background there now still. Is that what you're seeing, Jack?
Can confirm.
Awesome, thank you so much. So on to the fun stuff, and I see we're at about 25 minutes after the hour, so I think we're doing pretty good on time. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna walk us through that same contract management process, but obviously I'm going to be doing it in real time now. I'm going to explain a couple things before we jump into the actual process, just for anyone that's not familiar with the OnBase system. Currently, I am logged in to the Unity client, as you heard me reference it a brief moment ago. The Unity client is just a locally installed client. We do have a web client, and I say we as in Highland OnBase. We do have a web client as well. So maybe you have an organization that doesn't want to install the software on everyone's device. You do have that ability to launch a web client as well. To talk really through what you're seeing on my screen though a little bit more, we do have this nice Microsoft looking ribbon at the top. That really just provides those users that are familiar with OnBase, that nice familiarity that, they're used to seeing those Microsoft looking icons. And then really I have all these different colored tiles on my screen as this is my individual personal page. I am logged in as a contract manager, or excuse me, as a contract administrator. So really all the security around what I can see and get pushed out to my personal page is going to be really only relevant to what I have configured within my security rights in the background. The great news about OnBase, it is point and click configurable. So, because I'm a contract administrator, I'm only going to see that relevant stuff to the contract management solution. I'm not going to see anything related to, maybe HR or AP, because my organization has determined they don't want me poking around in that area. So with these tiles now, I have, these are just quick hits that are within the OnBase system. So, I have this contract request agreement, and you'll see me work with this in a bit, but this is just that electronic form that we really looked at the beginning of my PowerPoint. I also do have this nice tile for any type of contract search. So maybe I wanted to search for any existing contracts that are in my OnBase system. I have this nice custom query that can perform any type of search based off of that data. And just know that, this screen can be configurable. So if you want to throw your individual logo up there, change any type of data fields that you want to search upon as an organization, you can totally do that. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and start that process of, kicking off that individual request. I'll move around through some things. I'm going to try to move a little quick just because for the sake of time. But again, if we have questions, please don't hesitate to enter those in the chat, and we can kind of maybe take a pause and review anything that we need to. So again, I have this nice electronic form that's pulled up. Again, as I referenced, these are point and click configurable forms at the beginning of the call. Really, I was able to build this form by just dragging and dropping the appropriate fields onto, this form. That way, my users that are inputting this have that appropriate information to really kick off that contract request. I have different I can use drop-down fields as part of gathering that information. I'll just go ahead and get some data. It's a one-way NDA. I can use a calendar to see really when I want that contract to start. And then I can also say maybe who that contract is with. So I'll just go ahead and say Deltec. And then as you can see right from there, I kind of talked about this at the beginning, but I'm able to really input some additional information that's related to Deltec because OnBase has stored that in the background already. Or maybe we pull it over from your third line of business to, again, simply cut down on time for those users that are getting these initial requests kicked off. And then I just, most importantly, I need a date of when that agreement is needed by, obviously 4 days. It's probably not a very realistic time frame, but we'll just call it that for today. And then we'll just go ahead and say, no, this is not from the external party. And you can see there as well, I can attach documents to this request if needed, as those populated based on my input on that different field. So I went ahead and submitted that. So just to kind of talk about a couple things that are happening in the background there. One, a notification was kicked off to my admin, and she's going to receive a email stating, okay, you got a nice contract request that was just submitted. You need to review it. Additionally, that contract request, as you can see there, my number went from 12 to 13. It kicked off that process to really open up that workstation. And as you can see right from here, we are looking at that workstation that is related to that request that I just submitted. We can see that, that due date of 9/29, which is what I just indicated. We have those nice milestones at the top, which are going to be, they're going to start to change color as we move through this request. And we're additionally going to get a nice timestamp with that. That's going to provide an audit trail of when that was all done. I talked about this at the beginning, but I'll still kind of talk through these just to make sure we're calling them out. I have all those data points that are related to this contract request. Right now, I just have that contract information. I'll shortly assign those primary contacts. I also have that nice tasks container that I was talking about. Again, I kind of showed where some tasks were already created, and we'll see some get auto-generated as well, but I can assign tasks if needed. So maybe I'm a manager that wants to come in here and assign, I can leverage a data field of employees that should be working maybe a request. So, within OnBase, you can relate those different informations to ensure, the right people are taking the right action. And then I talked about notes as well. As you can see, I can also, edit notes and add notes on an ad hoc basis. We can see who created it, when it was created by. I got that nice documents container, so I have that electronic form that we just submitted a brief moment ago. And then of course the emails container. So really from here, to kind of take a step back, and we'll step back into the shoes of actually working the request. That first step of once that is received and we're reviewing it, is simply to either cancel the request or to assign myself as maybe that administrator and accept the actual request to kick it off. I'll go ahead and accept. As you can see there, OnBase went ahead and auto assigned Kathy Smith as that administrator, as that is who I am logged into the OnBase system as. Kathy, now she's going to have to make sure she assigns a external party to work with, maybe just in case they need to reach out to that contact at Deltek. We obviously can pull in those related contacts. So my example, because this is just a demo environment, I just had Cheryl Duncan with the highlandindustries.com, but if there's maybe a list of contacts that are related to each individual vendor, we can certainly have that referenceable for your organization. So then really once the administrators assign, we have an external party. Kathy's recognizing that we don't have any tasks that are currently open. She just knows that the next step is really to take, and that's really to compose that agreement. So you can see here from my tasks at the top, I have these different ad hoc tasks that I can do. I can send this back to the external party, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, let's compose that agreement. Now I'm really prompted to select that appropriate template to really move forward with that contract agreement. Now, from my drop-down arrow, I can go ahead and select that contract management. And I'm just going to say contract is the template I'm looking for, because that's the only one I have in my demo environment. Obviously, again, I like to point this out. With OnBase's point and click configurability, you can certainly add as many templates as you need. Maybe there's different template groups that you need. That is totally something that is configurable within the solution. So after I hit OK, you can see that I have that nice contract. OnBase was able to also pull over that related information, as that party is in fact Deltek. So that is a great feature and functionality of OnBase, that it can really leverage that data that's we're inputting on that initial request and bring it over into these documents, simply to cut down on time to have to go in here, make edits, and then send out. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit accept, because I think that contract looks great. And really from there, then I can go ahead over, and that next step would be really to just get that agreement out to that vendor and have them review it, maybe make any kind of redlinings, and then work from that next task. So I'll just go ahead and hit send. And I just want to call out, this is just one way we can send those agreements to that external party within the solution itself. What you're seeing is just a electronic form. So we kicked off this process with that electronic form. This is just a different variation of that same electronic form, or Unity forms. We can use Unity forms as a way to send an email. So we can go ahead and just put some text in here. And then once really I hit submit, a task is happening in the background to really kick off that, to bundle up that agreement that we said, or that we attached to this request, and really send off to that external party. And again, we're pulling that data from that primary contact, from that external party, to send to that person on the receiving end. And then of course I can return to my actions. I'll want to indicate that I sent that proposal to that external party. That way we are, going ahead and continuing to move through those appropriate milestones as that draft has been completed. You can see here, I've got that nice task now that that contract was in fact sent to that external party. It was done. But you also notice that that negotiation completed milestone has not been indicated yet, because we have not received that contract back from that external party, and we have not reviewed any type of redlinings. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly bounce over to my Outlook. I'm going to do a quick refresh of my folder, and you're going to see some emails come in here. Now, obviously this first one was just really when that contract request was submitted. So I kind of talked about some, actions happening in the background there. So we can see that those, we're all coming in. This one though is really that contract that was in fact shared with me. So we can see the text that was put in there, that we need to please review and sign that. So now really as that external party, I can come in here, launch the document, review it. Maybe if I need to make any type of editing, I can do that. And then really it's just a matter of getting that sent back over to, your organization or the organization that's working that contract request to, then in fact, continue the process of that negotiation phase. It's really then, this contract request, and I'll jump back over to OnBase here. Really the contract request process can sit in this stage really for a variation of time, simply because everyone knows how that redlining process goes. It can take some time between different organizations to get that completed, and it's just really a matter of once that's done, then we can go ahead and take that appropriate step and indicate, yes, that agreement has been signed. We have received the updated document. There's no more redlining, and again, we did get sign off on it. And from here, you can see that negotiation has been completed. The agreement, we're calling it activated. And then really, until we have reached that expiration date, which we don't even really have one on there, that's really when the next action would take place on this, around this contract. We do have additional actions to terminate agreement. So maybe we had some verbing that was not disclosed, and we needed to change the verbing on the contract and then get a new one out. We can terminate it, or we can send it back. These are also just different ad hoc tasks that I have in my demo environment. So if you wish to change maybe the verbiage on these or the icon, we have hundreds of different icons that your team or your organization can leverage that would really benefit you guys the most. So I'll kind of pause there for a moment. I do have some other things that I wanted to include in the live demonstration portion, but I wanted to see if there's any questions that came up in the chat.
Hi, Brandon. It does look like we did have several more questions come through.
Awesome.
First off, can users outside of the organization submit contract requests and have them routed appropriately?
Yes. So think back to that electronic form that I started the conversation with. Your individual organization can surface that same type of electronic form out to maybe your external parties, whether that's via a link on maybe your website or other ways you want to expose that. As long as that's just one way again. But yes, I think yes, that you can expose different ways to those external parties, and that's really the one way that I see a lot, most customers using is just simply through that electronic form or, in that fashion.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon.
Mhm.
Also, is it possible to allow certain users or user group access to one contract and not the other? What kind of security protocols are being used?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you really can get as granular as you want in terms of security. With OnBase, again, great point and click configurable platform. It's just a matter of, once you're configuring and setting that up in the background, you just want to assign the appropriate users to that, document type, or maybe user group to that appropriate document type. So that's really how you define it, and really will, in essence, only allow those users to those appropriate contract types. Again, I'm logged in as the contract manager, so I'm going to have the keys to the contract management solution, but we can restrict, maybe certain admins to only be poking around with certain contract types.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon.
Mhm. Awesome. So I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to go back to my personal page, but I'm going to go ahead and say we'll save and close that. And I'm going to just talk about a couple other things. We talked about the whole contract management solution, working a contract end-to-end, but let's just talk about, searching for any type of contracts that may be stored inside of OnBase. And then maybe, and then additionally, we'll talk about some reporting here as well. I talked about, our screen here in the beginning, where maybe we know what type of contract number we want to search for, or that entity, or maybe we want to search for all those, different contracts from a certain date. We do also have the ability to leverage what are filters inside of OnBase. Now, just think of filters as a predefined search, based off of some established boundaries to define what we are really looking for. In this example, I have a filter. We'll just go ahead and close that one out. I'll pop open another one. I have this filter now that it's being displayed is to really display all those contracts. So you can see from these different columns, I have some information that's related to each individual contract. I have a contract number, maybe a subcontract number, who that company is, the start date, status, and really the stage of where that contract is. So if I needed to maybe search for some information that is really related, I have that ability to do so. And maybe I want to actually see this individual contract request. I can pop that open, right from that view. And, from here, this was just a contract that we were just working on a brief moment ago, but it is activated and there's really nothing that needs to be done. If I needed to also, to get these in a little bit more cleaner look, I can drag and drop one of these columns, and maybe I want to see all those contracts that were specific to Econ, and I have that nice more, a little bit cleaner view. I really have the ability to drag and drop these different column headers to the top and just continue to get even more granular in terms of what I'm looking for until I find that appropriate contract. These filters are very configurable. Any user within OnBase can create filters themselves. You can see right from my icon here, I have that ability to create that, and maybe I want to, configure this filter a little bit better. It really just kind of empowers the user to make their life easier on a way that they want to, search for content inside of OnBase better. I think that really just kind of helps in the training process when adapting a new solution. When you have a nice, easy interface to work with those users, rather than having to spend, countless hours to try to get them up to speed with that new platform or solution. Additionally, within this view, if I wanted to, I can display all this information in that dashboard setting. So right from here, I can see all those different contracts, and really in what status they're in. So I have 13 that are in an active state, 14 in the waiting draft, etc. So it just provides a different view than what we were looking at before. Same data, but different view. And here I have a nice pie chart. And again, I can drill into one of these and maybe work it as a as needed basis, and go from there. And then if I need to, I can jump back to my filter display, mess around with any other filters that I'd like. That's just one way to do reporting. That is a very basic reporting with inside of OnBase. We do have additionally our reporting dashboards module, which it just gets a little bit more configurable for those reports, and you can do different things with those reports itself. And I hope I didn't sound overcomplicated in explaining that, but really with this report, think of, we can drag and drop these different views onto this screen versus the other report. It's just going to show the pie chart and that bar graph based off of that data we were just looking here. I can build these reports to, see all that active data and where it's moving. Again, we had this view at the beginning, but these are all those different workloads of those different administrators. And this is really going to be the real-time data of what everything is doing. The other view, again, was just that static information and where it was at that particular time. This is going to be that, continual active information as it flows. And I can really, have the ability to interact with this information. You can see I drilled down into that vendor agreement. Now I'm only seeing, those contracts that are related to, that vendor agreement. Maybe I want to, continue to look at, that signing, or if I want to see, all those with Cindy, we can see all that workload is with that appropriate, administrator. And, it just really simply provides, like I called out at the beginning, that nice 30,000 foot view of where everything is, and provides each individual, administrator or manager the ability to interact with these on an ad hoc basis. And then finally, I did have another dashboard that I wanted to show. This is just our vendor management dashboard. So think of the other one again as just the workload that's being handled through that request. Here, I'm able to see, as we have a report that's built around, that vendor overall satisfaction rating. So I can see all my vendors by state and where they're located. We have this nice vendor rating score that's being built in. Again, these are very interactive, so I can see, all those approved vendors as that's going to relate to this bar graph. I can drill down into all my vendors that are, specifically in Ohio, to kind of get a better look. That way, maybe as a organization, we need to kind of adjust some things around with how we are doing, handling our vendors. This just provides that nice 30,000 foot view of what needs to take place, who are the guys I can rely on, and maybe who I need to possibly have some follow-up with. And then one other touch point I wanted to just make, I wanted to just pop open the administration panel. This is really more so for any type of administrators that would be handling the solution. This just kind of provides a intuitive and easy interface to work with the contract request solution, if they need to make any type of quick updates. So, you saw I had that ability to choose from those 3 contract types, but, maybe I needed to add a new contract agreement to the solution itself. I have that ability to do so. We have that nice agreement that's now in, or that new contract type that's in there. I didn't give it any description. I apologize, just for the sake of the demonstration, but really from there, I have that ability now to, come out and really see, that update without having to, maybe do that appropriate overnight. And I apologize. I'm running into a bit of a software issue myself. So of course, that is something that happens when working with live software, but what should happen is really you should have been able to see that new contract type pop open right from here. So I do apologize. I have a bit of a bad example there. But again, that just really empowers your administrators the ability to work with the on-base system and not have to wait on overnight resets for certain things. But with that, I will pause to see if there's any type of questions, as that really wraps up all the content that I had planned to share today. And then Jack, I don't know if there's anything from the chat.
First off, really great job, Brandon. Lots of really great information. Thank you. It looks like our final questions are around training. Brandon, is there any training available for contract management? And if so, where can folks find that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do have a number of different ways for training. For anyone that's not familiar with the training that's through Highland, there is University, and we have some different videos that are out there that your organization can walk through. Some of them may be, accessible only through Premier access. So I would just double check with your account team or maybe your administrator to see if your organization has administrative access. Additionally, we do have try.highland.com. That I know is available for all end users, whether you're on Premier or not, as long as you're, and potentially I think even prospects as well. But you're able to really pull down a sandbox environment which has the contract management solution in there, and you can play around with it, and really get familiar with it yourself. And finally, we do offer what are called WorkView workshops from the Highland team, such as myself, where I can kind of get more in depth with the application itself, and we can kind of talk about what WorkView is and how would it be helpful for your organization. Because again, what I showed is a WorkView application, which was the contract management solution. WorkView is an extremely powerful low code, no code application tool that the contract management solution is just one example of how powerful it can be for your organization. And to put it into other terms, it's really a relational database to pull in that information together. So those WorkView workshops can be powerful. So if you think this type of application would be beneficial also to other areas within your organization, I would definitely encourage you to again leverage your account team, and we can spin one of those up and have a nice conversation.
Great, thanks, Brandon.
All right, great. Thank you so much. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Jack for our closing and wrap up.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, can everybody see my screen?
We can. We're seeing your desktop.
Okay. How about this? Does that work a little better?
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, let's move you over. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jack Pompey. I'm a solutions project manager here at TSC. I'll be taking a few moments just to hit on a couple of items before we wrap up our contract management webinar. First, I'd like to talk briefly on on-base managed services. So we define on-base managed services as the practice of outsourcing the responsibility for maintaining anticipating the need for a range of processes and functions in order to improve operations and cut expenses. So what this means is that we cover everything from strategic planning to software license installation and go live support, everything in between. As every on-base solution is sort of different in their own way, we absolutely encourage everyone to engage their on-base support partner to figure out how on-base can be tailored to your specific need. Next, I'd just like to break down a little bit about who TSC is and what we're all about. So TSC was founded in 2011 by our fearless leader, Jack Roberts. We are recognized as experts in our field, as all of our team members have at least 10 years experience working with on-base and in the ECM space. We do hold several industry recognized certifications, including Microsoft Cloud Partner, Highland Software Value Added Reseller, and, we do follow the Six Sigma approach to problem solving and solution building. Next, I am happy to say that we are incredibly proud to be recognized by Highland this year as core solution provider in the area of low-code app development with on-base. So again, we are extremely proud of this. Oh, hold on one second. There we go. Okay, we do encourage everyone to reach out to TSC or your on-base support partner to learn more about on-base features and functionality, as well as on-base managed services offerings. We want to encourage everybody to join us for our next webinar on October 19th, so we can talk about on-base 23.1 and the on-base app builder. We also encourage everybody to join us on November 16th, so we can talk a little more about on-base and its special relationship with RPA. We absolutely love feedback here at TSC, so we want to encourage everyone to reach out to us if there's anything you'd like to see covered in future webinars. We can be reached at info@tsc-ecm.com. And then lastly, I wanted to sincerely thank everybody for taking the time to join us today for our webinar. We understand that life gets crazy and people are busy, so we very much appreciate everyone taking their time out of the day to join us. As mentioned earlier, the recording for this webinar, as well as the slide deck, will be made available to everybody. And again, wanted to thank everybody for joining us, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thanks, everyone.